Hey there, and welcome to exercise number 69. In this one, we need to write a function named createQueue that returns an object that behaves like a queue. Now, queues are a very important data structure in programming, so that's exactly why we're going to do this exercise. The object returned by this function should have three properties. So that means the queue should have three properties, all of them functions. Now, the first one is called add, and is a function that takes a parameter, adds it to the queue, and adds it to the queue. Now the second function is called remove, and it's a function that removes the oldest item from the queue. So in other words, it removes the item that was like the first one inserted, right? So if I insert, let's say item 1, 2, 3, and then I remove, it's going to remove item 1, then it's going to remove item 2, and so on. But we're going to see more about this in the example. And finally, the third function is called list, and it returns all items from the queue as an array, and the order should be the same order in which they were added to the queue. So that's very, very important. Below we have an example. So you can see here we're creating a queue, and we add first number 1, and then we add the number 2, and then we add number 3. Then I'm going to console log queue.list. So it's going to print 1 to 3 because this is the order in which we inserted them. Then I'm going to call remove, and then I'm going to console log the list, the remaining list. And now you can see we only get 2 and 3. Why? Because we removed the oldest item from the queue, which is number 1. Then I'm going to call remove again, and then print it again, and then I get only 3. And then finally I'm going to remove that one, and the queue is going to be empty. Now, if you want to solve this exercise for yourself, which I highly encourage you to do, then click on the link in the description. If not, keep watching and we're going to do it together. I'm going to go here into the right side, into the code area, and the first thing I want to do is create an object which is going to be our queue and return it. And for now, we're not going to implement the functions. Let's just create the boilerplate, let's call it. So I'm going to say const queue is an object which is going to have add and remove, and is going to have what? List, and finally we're going to return it. So far, so good. Now we're going to need to store the items we add to the queue, right, in a data structure. So I'm going to use an array for that. So I'm going to have an array called items, and this is where we're going to store what you add to the queue. And also not forget to put a parameter here to the add function. So here we're going to do it, let's say item. Now the add function needs to add the parameter. So looking here on the left side, takes a parameter and adds it to the queue. So here I can just do items.push item. Now the remove function removes the oldest element from the queue and returns it. And guess what? The oldest element from the queue is the element at index 0, right? Because we keep pushing elements to the end. So the oldest one is at position 0 always. And we have a function for that. And I think the function is called unshift. Shift. Removes the first element from an array and returns it, right? So this is exactly what I want. I'm going to do return this one. So this function is going to remove the first element, the one at position 0, and it's going to return it. And then here at list, I just want to return the items because they're already in the correct order. So I'm going to say return items. Now, before I submit the exercise, let's test it. So I'm just going to take this code from here and let's put it here. I think I know what's going on here. Yeah, so this works in a browser. Interesting. So this is going to work in the browser when you console log, but it's not working here because we modified the array. So this is very, very interesting. And I think I can show you that actually it works. Let me just comment this. Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, and then I remove 1 and we get 2, 3. Okay, and then I remove this one and we should get everything is free and then empty. Yeah, so I think there's a bug in this library that I'm using because we modified the items array, right? So by modifying it, somehow those console logs don't look like they should, which is weird, right? Because they should. In a browser, this would work. And we can actually test that it works. So we can do, let's just do this. So let's just test it, you know? Let's just do, let's just take the function, and I'm going to show you that actually it works. And I'm going to take this code, and let's console it and run it. And yeah, you can see here, it works like in the example, but somehow the library I'm using here has a bug, so that's a bit weird. But to also have it look okay here, what I'm gonna do is, instead of doing items.shift and return items, I'm actually gonna modify, no, I'm gonna return a copy of the items like this. And this way we get, yeah, we get the correct console logs. Yeah, sorry about that. So I think there's a bug with the library that I'm using for the console logs. I showed you that in the browser console, it looks okay. So it looks exactly like here. Now let's test our solution, and voila, it works. Cheers, and see you in the next one.